What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fully Vetted Show. I'm Jordan Riley. With me today is Hal Gray. Hal, thanks for being here.
Thank you much. Enjoying.
Yeah.
Looking forward to doing it.
Yeah, so before we start, let's go just quick background, just wave tops of some of your military service, and then we'll get into the weeds.
Okay. I joined the Coast Guard in 1981. My first unit was the Coast Guard cutter icebreaker out of Wilmington. We went up into the Arctic, breaking ice and doing all that type of thing, playing tag with nuclear subs, doing all that. Came back. I went to school. Then I went to a patrol boat out of Pensacola, Florida, and I was doing law enforcement, search and rescue. I came back here to Fort Macon, was on a Coast Guard construction tender, and finished that up. I was done with the military, and then some boys talked me into going to the National Guard in 1990. Well, back then in 1990, the National Guard was almost the whole Southern Comfort movie type thing from the 80s. You know, you'd go do some drills, stuff like that. Well, then in 96, they started dumping, and we were a mechanized infantry unit. And it was the old 113s like we talked about.
Yeah.
Well, in 96, we got the Bradleys. And then they kept amping up the Bradleys we were getting. They were dumping more money. In 99, we got word, hey, you guys are going to Bosnia. And we're like, this is the shit. A National Guard unit is we're going out of the States.
Right.
And we went to Bosnia, and we were working with the UN, NATO, really cool stuff. We were doing presence patrols. We were doing guarding mass grave sites. We were hanging out with Norwegians and South Africans and all this stuff. I was joint patrols with the Portuguese, and last time I checked, I'd never spoken Portuguese. So we were doing all that. Well, then we came home, and we thought that was it. We were good, and then 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And everything went to hell in a handbasket. And so in 2003, we mobilized, went to Iraq. We were at a place called Belarus, which was right around the Iranian border. And it was kind of quiet. Well, then we went to, things started getting kind of hairy. And they dropped part of us down to a place called Diwanila, which was the Mahdi army. I don't know if you were familiar with what was happening with, his name was Muqtada Sadr. Mm-hmm. His dad had been a big religious dude and got assassinated, and so he was certifiable. He was crazier than shit.
Yeah.
This guy was. His dad was a real deal, but he was crazy, and he mobilized his own little army and was kicking things up. Well, while we were down there, our company commander, Christopher Cash, and another boy, Danny Dessens, they were hit by this perfect linear ambush in a place called Bakuba. And I'm not going to say they got their ass handed over because they gave as much as they got.
Sure, yeah.
But we lost our company commander and a little boy named Danny Dessens, a good kid out of Jacksonville. Well, we came back, we all linked up, things had changed, and we did a lot of raids, we did a lot of those things. Well, we came back home, and we knew that we were either going to go to Afghanistan or we're going back to Iraq.
Right.
Because things had
like
changed.
The two things happening at the time. Yeah.
So we went we went back to Iraq in 2009, and we really got involved in counterinsurgency. It was COIN. It was the whole David Petraeus thing. Mm-hmm. Well, we started doing that, and we were doing counterinsurgency. The company had their own COIS guy, and the platoons we had a kick-ass little COIS team.
Will you explain what COIS is?
Okay, counterinsurgency is it was kind of the running hand in hand with the local people.
Okay.
Trying to do projects, trying to get involved, trying to find out what's going on, keeping your thumb on the pulse of the community.
Right. Win the hearts and minds.
Win hearts and minds.
Yeah.
And I was all about it. the thing about stuff like that is you don't have to believe in it to do it.
Sure.
You know,
Right.
you just had to do it, and I had to sell it to my guys. Whether I did or not, I don't know, but they did their job. So we were doing that, and everything was okay. Well, there was an area that it had been Saddam Hussein's big ammunition and weapons building place.
Like
It's called
the depot?
Kaka. Yes. Well, it wasn't a depot. They built shit.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And made stuff. So first platoon went in there one night and got hit with a pressure plate IED. You know, it's the whole, you roll over it, it connects,
Yep.
sends a charge, and you're smoked. And they that Humvee just got smoked, and everything changed for us again.
Yeah.
And reality just smacked us in the face. Well, things kind of changed up. We really started working the counterinsurgency thing. Some people believed in it, some people didn't. Like I told you, it didn't matter whether you believed it or not, tried to make it work.
Right.
So we did all that. Came back in like March of 2010, and that's I was thinking about getting out.
Really?
I was over it. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
tired. I mean, I was like 50, and so. But then my company commander called me, and he said, and he and I kind of grew up in the National Guard together. He said, Hal, I want you to be my first sergeant. I said, I was thinking about getting out. He said, I know. He said, talk to Debbie, because we were all tight. Talk to my wife, and so I said, no, she'll be good. And I was first sergeant for about 3 years. Wore my ass out.
Yeah.
Because I was working. I've been with the state with the Fair Division for 30 years, for about 20-some years by then. So I was doing that, and I was scaring my captain on the fair to death because I was doing emails and steering a boat, and just, it was crazy. Well, I finally had enough, and I ended up going up to the Butner National Guard Training Center in between Durham and Raleigh. It was It was great. And I did that for 5 years, and when I was 60, the girl that ran the show up there was like, dude, go home. And that was my career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long career.
It was the military was better to me than I was to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I had some rough times. There were times that we've talked about it, sucked.
Yeah.
But looking back, and you're like, man, I wouldn't trade that shit for nothing.
No, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd do it all over again too.
Yeah. Yes.
Even the bad parts.
Yes.
It's just
Yep.
to get back to the good parts.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
The interesting thing is going cross branch and going from being in the Coast Guard
Yes.
to then joining the National Guard and being in the Army, and it's just a different world, different
Dude,
vibe. Everything's.
I didn't even know how to put the uniform on.
Oh yeah.
I showed up in 1990 at the Armory in Moorhead. They gave me this pile of stuff. I'm like,
what
what do I do with this? It's a rucksack. What the hell's a rucksack? But it was. It didn't take long, and the thing was, guys were like, "Here."
Is there a course you can get, or give you anything?
So I joined in February of '90, and in June of '90, I went to infantry school. 2 weeks in Eastover, South Carolina. And that was my initial thing.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
We'll send you to war.
Yeah, and then that's right. You're good to go. You're locked on.
There you go,
yeah. But then,
that's reassuring.
But as time went by, when we got the Bradleys, we started, the Bradley schools. They were intense. They were good.
Well, you can attest to it. So you learn a lot more in the field than you do at any school.
And the thing was, we had guys that would, and back in '90, we still had the M60s, and we had a guy who he'd been in the National Guard. He went with the 82nd. He went at Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and came back, and he was subject matter expert on everything.
Yeah.
And they weren't bullshit. I mean, he was, and so we had guys from Vietnam. I went to school with a dude that had his shoulder put back together because he, like in '71, he was in the Army in Vietnam and got the shit shot out of him.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then as time went by, they all went by the wayside, and back like 2000, 2001,
At a
things
certain
started
point,
changing.
they fade out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to learn from people who were in different campaigns before you.
Yes.
That just different type of war, but you learn what they learn. It's passing on that knowledge is huge.
Oh yeah, and you always train for your last war.
Right.
We were training for. We've been training for Vietnam all the way up to like 96.
Yeah.
Another Vietnam.
It's jungle
There's
warfare.
going to be a jungle somewhere.
Yeah.
We're going to go. Yeah.
But the guerrilla warfare in Vietnam kind of probably helped when it came to guerrilla warfare in the desert. I mean, it's a different climate. It's a different place. Yeah, but you're talking about an unconventional force who's doing unconventional warfare.
And the thing, I want to say, half time I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Sure, that's fine.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'll talk.
We're an opinion-based show anyway.
Yeah.
We like opinions.
Yeah. Right. This is ingrained in stone. David Petraeus don't know dang a shit on me. But when the insurgency started in Iraq, it was almost like we started over again.
Yeah.
We were going to go in as liberators, and it didn't turn out that way.
Right. Yeah.
So
the amount of civilian populace that you deal with is different than Vietnam.
Yeah. And
the winning hearts and minds mission, like we hit on earlier, was different than Vietnam.
Yes,
there's a lot more to it. Way more dynamic.
And I think as far as winning hearts and minds, what I learned was everybody's not going to be on board with that.
Yeah.
And to win hearts and minds, everybody's got to be on board with it.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, 2004, when the big prison, Abu Ghraib.
Abu Ghraib. Yeah.
That set us back.
Yeah.
And so
a decade.
Yeah. So if everybody's
not
not on board with counterinsurgency or winning heart, it don't work.
Yeah.
So says Hal Gray.
Yeah. It's true. It is true though. I mean, it really, and even to be said for the troops themselves. Is that if everyone's not invested in the mission 100%, and willing to give everything to it, it's just you're not going to succeed. There's just no way. It's impossible.
Yeah, it is.
Especially when you have civilians who you think are on your side, and then they're giving information to the insurgency.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you look at it nakedly, honestly, you can't blame them.
Sure.
They're just trying to live, man.
Yeah.
And you had like Al Qaeda or the Mahdi Army, or you had Shia, you had Sunni. The Sunni was the Al Qaeda guys, and the Shia were the Mahdi Army dudes, and especially where we were at in second Iraq, when we were in our second time, we were in the area where the Sons of Iraq, the Awakening, all that was going on.
Yeah.
And they really got tired of the Al Qaeda in Iraq, the AQI dudes. I mean, they were just slaughtering everybody.
Yeah.
Civilians, it didn't matter. And they just got tired of it. And they started working with us.
Right.
And things kind of turned, And so when we got over a second time, it was almost like when the lion being the Al Qaeda dudes, they had kind of backed up because they had lost their footing because these local people were like, we're done with y'all.
Yeah. And now we have someone to back us up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then once Iraq government took over, that's when the corruption.
Yeah.
And the guys weren't getting paid, and I don't mean to go off the rails here, but like what's going on in Ukraine.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the parallels between that. Yeah.
And it's because in Iraq and Afghanistan is tribal.
Yeah, it's stuff that goes back centuries.
Yeah,
and
they could give a shit about their country.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean they're cowards, but you're not going to fight for a corrupt government.
No.
So Iraq, Afghanistan, especially Afghanistan, but in Ukraine, they're Ukrainian before they're anything.
Right.
So they're picking up arms. They're picking up
Yeah.
tire irons, whatever.
Yeah.
They're fighting for the country, but it's two different.
Especially it's down to the community of I have Al Qaeda trying to operate out of my community, and I don't like that.
That's right.
And I don't like being, and I don't like you here either. And so we need to find a middle ground between you helping us get them out and then get you out, because I don't want anyone here.
That's right.
Yeah, and I was the whole time you were talking about that, I was thinking of the parallels between, it's just like what's happening now in Ukraine with Russia, and and the hard part is as U.S. military, it's hard to understand that because it goes back so long, and you don't know that part of their culture and the history behind that feud and the territories and you're coming in trying to do a job that you really don't even know the nuances of how deep it goes and the tribal aspects of it.
I remember when we were when Nate, Matt's brother, and we were all over there. They'd have we worked with at the time it was called the Iraqi National Guard. They became the Iraqi police. I think Iraqi police. It was the Iraqi police later on, but and they were Kurds,
Really?
Yeah, they were Kurds in our area. So we go in, and they would have posters of Hussein and Ali, the dudes from like 780, and they were still pissed because those two guys had gotten killed by I think the Sunnis or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're like, you might want to let this go.
This is pretty old history.
It's called, and we were like, this is going to be a little more complicated.
Because we're so caught up in the last decade here in America. That we can't understand how far back these things go.
Yeah. It's like older guys that are still calling them Japs. Like we don't call them.
Like we can't call them Japs anymore.
Zipperheads.
Yeah.
Like, really?
It's like you can't say that anymore.
That's right.
But they just can't understand that things have changed.
You're talking 700 AD.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, to them, you almost have to think more biblically.
Yes,
it's like this is
and that's what was happening.
Yeah,
they were talking biblically, and we were talking like you don't have
a Facebook yet?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You don't have social media?
Yeah, we don't understand that. Yeah.
I had the first tour. We had a kid. He was our one of our interpreters. We had Little Muhammad and Big Muhammad. Big Muhammad was really fat. Little Muhammad was a little teeny dude. And I was telling him the story about the Kursk, which was the sub, the Russian sub that sank like around 2000 or whatever.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I said, you remember the Russian sub that got sunk? And he was like, Sergeant Gray. I don't know any of that.
What are you talking about?
He said, we thought your Bradleys were made of wood. Do you really think I know anything about a Russian sub?
Yeah, right.
I'm like, okay. Right. He said,
I get it now.
He said, Iraqis believe in everything, that we believe everything, and we believe nothing.
It's almost a good mindset.
Yeah, it really,
Take everything at face value, but trust nothing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It is totally, and especially coming from where you came from in Hatteras, right?
Yeah.
Where you gotta think middle of nowhere, small town, small community, and you go to this place, it's completely out of like the realm of what you'd ever think you'd be involved in.
From 2000 to 2010, I hung out with more Muslims than I did Methodists.
Yeah.
Really.
But did you ever think that would be a thing?
No. No. And
way to flip the script.
And here's the thing about when we were in Eastern Europe, in Bosnia, the Muslims there, I remember a guy said, I'm not a mosque kind of guy. That was one of our interpreters said that. The Muslims there were completely different.
Really?
And that's what it always frustrates me when people are talking about things that they don't know what they're talking about.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, a lot of times I'm talking, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are talking shit, and they're like, and I'm thinking, you really think you know what you're talking about, but you don't have a clue.
Like I don't know what I'm talking about, but I've been there and seen it. Yeah. So I'm just I know what I'm talking about.
I'm really running my mouth here, so I may want to preface it like, hey, dude, by the way, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. you should verify what I'm saying, but I think I know what I'm talking about.
That's right, yeah. Right. You might want to cross-reference what I just said.
Well, that's the funny thing about getting in conversations with people, too, is I've had conversations with people about certain policies and things, and I've always thought to myself, like, man, you're basing your information off of a vacation you took to another country.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between basing your information off of a vacation you took to what you think is a third world country.
Yeah.
And actually having been to some places that are really oppressed.
You went to Jamaica and you met a Rastafarian, and now you think you're...
Now you're so traveled and you know how oppressed people
worldly.
are.
That's right.
It's like those Rastafarians
You watched Cool Runnings a couple times.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's like I've seen their struggle.
Right.
Not
really.
They hate the cold.
That's right.
But the atrocities that can happen in these places, and you haven't seen that, and you don't know. You have no idea.
You know, when we were in Bosnia, I remember I had a Ron Wahab. He was very well read. He was an E6. He was another staff sergeant.
They call it staff sergeant in the army, right?
Yes, he was a staff sergeant, and he said, because he'd done a lot of reading, he said, where we're at now, these people in Bosnia are the meanest white people in the world.
Yeah.
Yes, and because when the Bosnian War kicked off, 91, something like that.
Yeah.
And these, you had Catholics, you had Muslims, you had Protestants, you had all this stuff going on, and the Muslims were just and they had all hung out together before the war. They were like next door neighbors. I mean, like literally, a Muslim house, a Protestant house, a Catholic house.
Completely intermingled.
Yeah, but then the war started, and a lot of the people that had money, they shagged ass.
Right.
Like, we're out of here. Well, all of a sudden, the poor people and the people that were just regular folk that didn't have to get out, they were stuck there. And so the people that rose to the top were your criminals.
Mm-hmm.
And they started running things. And you talk about atrocities.
Yeah.
They were telling us things that happened. You're like, holy cow. Taking the patriarch of the family and dropping tires on him and then lighting it on fire. Shit like that. I mean, and when Ron told me, he said, "These are the meanest white people in the world." Like, yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what humans are capable of doing.
Yes,
and you see a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. And that kind of segues into, I was talking to Matt, and I wrote down this. Have you ever heard a book called Tribe?
Tribe?
Yeah, I wrote the book. It's Sebastian Junger. He wrote War.
I have heard of Sebastian Junger.
Okay, he wrote War, which was about the deal in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Well,
that's probably what I'm familiar with.
Yeah. Well, in recent years, he wrote a book called Tribe. And he talks about a lot of this stuff. And when, guys coming back from Iraq, Afghanistan, whatever, Vietnam, World War II, whatever, they come home. I know my family, Hal was back.
Yeah.
Not really.
Right. The Hal you thought was back.
Was not, yes.
But not the same Hal.
Not the same Hal. Right. And he talks about, the adjustment that doesn't happen because you take a guy that he was part of a team. Mm-hmm. The team was part of a squad, part of a platoon. They had each other's back, whether they liked each other or not.
Right.
They had each other. Well, this dude, and he was the shit. He would come through, he maybe walk through town with his, with his M4 or his M16 or whatever, and the populace peeled back. He was the man. He comes home, and he works. And I say this, and there's nothing wrong with being a cashier, working at Lowe's, whatever, but you're not the shit anymore.
Right, yeah.
And so it's an adjustment that a lot of guys just can't adjust.
Yeah.
And that opens up a lot of things. The whole PTSD thing. the suicide, all kinds of things,
yeah.
man. And I don't
really
think
is a good root. Yeah. It is a good point of the root cause of a lot of that.
Yeah, and the populace, the American people, really, I don't think they understand. And I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but people say they'll come to you and thank you for your service.
Mm-hmm.
They've done their job. Check that block. I'm out of here.
Right.
Instead of going, hey, tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do?
Yeah.
And this guy, he may have been, who knows what his job was over there. He may have been a cook or
administration.
Who knows? Something. Who knows? Now I know that you had these civil affairs people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when we were in when I was stationed there at the Butner National Guard Training Center, we had special ops, we had police, we had these civil affairs people coming through training and all that. These people, they were kind of special ops without the lightning bolt on their...
The candy on their shoulders.
Yeah. So, and there were females, there were males, there were all this stuff. And if you were to say, hey, like a guy from Vietnam, instead of going, hey, welcome home, thank you for the service, I'm out. I'm shagging ass, I'm out of here. Instead of that, going, hey, tell me about it. Mm-hmm. You never know what you're going to open up. Yeah. And just shut up and listen to what they got to say.
Yeah. Or be willing to
engage.
Be interested in it.
Yes. Yeah. And even if it's the boringest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Act like it.
And if you don't even understand any of it.
Just listen.
Yeah. That was something when I was on Matt and Billy's podcast before we started any of this. I went on their show and they were asking me questions. And I remember telling them, like, something that came up that I had talked about when I was working with the VA at first, when I was getting out, putting my claims and all that stuff. And talking with the VA psychiatrist. And he was kind of explaining to me some of the issues I was going through with, like, the mass loss, which is like all of your friends are gone. Yeah. It's like as if they died. I mean, they're out of your life completely. That's right. Yeah. It really is like you're grieving is what you're doing. And it may not be, they may still all be there and they're doing the thing and they're living their lives, but they're out of your life, which is the exact same as when you lose somebody.
Yes, sir.
Something I was telling Matt and Billy about was that, like to your point about asking someone just about anything, just ask them more than just thanking them. Ask them, what was the most interesting thing you saw? What was the most interesting thing you did? Or what was this like? Or what did you see here? Because it's and Matt brought up the point, it's like part of you's on life support.
Yes.
Where all of these memories and all of these stories and all this stuff that has literally shaped who you are and made you into the best parts of what you believe you are today is like such history now that it's like, but you don't even read about it in textbooks. No one talks about it. It's like only you can keep it alive in your own mind. It drives you crazy. Yeah. Because it's like you're not trying to relive it, but you're at least trying to keep the memory alive of what the experiences you went through, and just being able to find somebody that shows interest in that to want to hear about it and say like, I know there's Navy SEALs and special operators that write books and sell millions of copies, but there's average guys that have amazing stories that just need to be heard.
And it's not, a lot of times they're not sexy stories.
No.
But they're stories.
No.
And and you can't fault people in the civilian populace for not understanding that.
Right, of course.
But,
because some people might think that they may be walking on eggshells and they don't want to bring up something, or they're afraid
I've had them say, "Well, you probably don't want to talk about it."
Right.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm okay.
I'm okay. I'm not going to fall to pieces here. And that irritates a shit out of me. You're so fragile.
Right. I don't even want to bring it up. Yeah, but he might snap.
I know. Yeah. I know. Go to pieces. All of a sudden, we've got an issue we call the cops.
I don't need a safe space. I'm okay.
That's right. Yeah, I'm good. But and I tell you, and something else. We talked about the VA. I've had 3 VA therapists. I had Sarah Drennan, who was she was a psychologist. Had another lady that was something, and now I've got this other lady, and she's great. And I've been talking to her probably once a month now, pretty much since 2015.
So a long time.
Yeah. And, she brought up the suicide thing, they have, and again, I'll preface this like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Right. Well, I'm talking about it. But they've made suicide almost romantic.
Right. Yeah.
Like, a guy comes back, he's not connecting with anything, and he's seeing where this guy, he was a veteran and he killed himself, and now they're got a parade. It's on the news.
They kind of glorified the situation.
Yeah, they glorified the situation, and the reality it is you're dealing with wife, kids, parents, and all, and they've had their legs taken out from under them. That's the reality.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I think we're selling. Maybe selling is not the right word, but I'm going to use it anyway. Selling suicide in a way that we shouldn't sell it.
Turn them into a martyr.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Martyr, yeah.
And that's.
It's like, look what they've been through. Look how hard it was, and it led him to this.
And this dude that came home, and all of a sudden he's working for a plumbing company, and he's not the shit anymore.
Yeah.
And now all of his life is over. He's the shit again.
Mm-hmm.
That I was talking to them when I was overseas. When I was getting ready to go overseas first time, I was thinking, I remember we were at Fort Stewart, and I was in Iraq, and I'm thinking, what happens if I don't come back? And kind of put me in a little bit of a funk. But I got out of it, and we went over there, and then our guys got killed. And all of a sudden,
kind of makes it real again.
Oh yeah. It got hairy. Well, my mom gave me this Bible, and I remember there's a sticker, the little thing here, and it's from Deuteronomy 32:10-12. And I love parts of the Bible that talk about the warrior spirit.
Yeah.
I'm all about the warrior spirit, the warrior ethos.
The ethos, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That was big in the Marine Corps,
yes,
the warrior ethos.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it says so much.
Yeah.
But it says, in a desert land he fought him, in a battened and howling waste. He shielded him and cared for him. He guarded him as the apple of his eye, like an eagle that stirs up its nest and hovers over its young, then spreads its wings to catch them and carries them on its pinions. The Lord alone led him. No foreign god was with him. Man, that was like, okay, dude. God was like, okay, dude, you may not make it, but I'll be with you.
Yeah.
If you die in the desert, if you die in a city, your last breath, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And what that did to me, because there's a lot of stress,
mm-hmm.
but the stress of dying kind of went away. And then all I dealt with was taking care of my guys and the mission. And the part about not coming home, I knew that the one of the things that bothered me was my wife getting the news.
Right. Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm like, okay, I'm good, And after we lost our guys in 2009, there was another one, and it's Isaiah 41:10, and it pretty much, I got it tattooed right here. It says, "Fear not, I am with you, I am your God," and it doesn't say how. I'm gonna bring your ass home.
Right.
It don't say
There's
that.
no reassurance.
No, but it does say,
"Fear not."
Fear not, because I'm with you, and that was like, it was like an epiphany for me.
Yeah.
And so it was. I'm not saying it made my job easier, but it took some of that morality, the mortality stress.
Right. I feel like everybody finds something.
Yes.
Whether you're religious or not.
Yes.
Everybody finds something that reassures them that what they're doing is a just cause.
Oops.
And that they'll be glorified for their efforts.
Yes.
And protected. And if it ends badly, there's a reason that it ends badly.
Whether you're Buddhist or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I had a gunner, and he's one of my best friends, Robert Dickerson. Dude, he's from Philadelphia. And we were on a checkpoint in 2004, and we were in these Bradleys, and we were looking out, and we couldn't see anything. But he's reading, what was that book? It was Tom Hanks did the movie of it. About the Catholic Church and the Bible and all that stuff.
Was it
the Da Vinci Code? Yes. Yeah. And I'm looking, and I weren't sure what the Da Vinci Code, but I'm like, wait a minute, dude. I'm up here, and you're reading this stuff. And he says, Sergeant Gray, I'm going to worship all of them.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I am going to, if I got to worship, if I got to worship through Jesus, through Muhammad, through Buddha, any of them,
sure.
I'm going to check all the blocks.
Yeah,
just
in case.
Just in case. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't quite figured out which
I'm
one's
not figuring
mine.
That's right, but I'm going to,
yeah. It's interesting. There's a lot of opportunities because so many people do talk about morbid things, and they do kind of think about that existential issue of my afterlife or whatever, because no matter what your job is, you're thinking that there could come an end to this because of what I'm doing.
Yes.
And there is, especially as somebody who does have a faith, there is a lot of opportunities to talk to people about that because they're curious. A lot of people are just like, I don't know, but I know that I want something to reassure me that I'm going to be all right.
Yes. And with my Christian faith, I also have to understand there are other faiths.
Right.
And if I'm, like I've run into, since I've been back, I've run into, people of the Muslim faith. And, I mean, who am I to say, what's wrong, right, what's indifferent? And so it, I have to, I'm not going to say I watch my words, but I do understand.
You respect other people's
views
absolutely. And opinions. Sure.
Yes.
That's something that comes, that's an interesting thing that comes with the military, too, is like, because when you get in this conglomerate of people that come to, whether it's your platoon or whether it's your team or like that, at whatever level you're at, the difference across the board, it's so many different people, it's such a melting pot that you start to understand that like we're not all the same. We're going to find a way to find commonalities and mesh together because we're so different. Yes. And I'll teach you about what I believe. You teach me about what you believe. And we used to have a saying, especially when it comes to the race issue in the Marine Corps. There's no white or black. There's just dark green and light green. You're just different shades of green, but you're all Marines. And that was the thing that brought us all together, no matter where we came from, our belief system, any of our background. And it was a cool environment to be in because there is no hate amongst the different groups, especially with religion, because it doesn't really matter what you believe. I know what I believe, and I'm strong in that. And if you want to learn about it, I'll teach you. But if you don't, you're my brother either way.
And I remember, going through with the young guys, we would have really strong leaders, and then we'd have other guys. And the strong leaders, if you had we had guys from Thailand, and they would, I think, worship Buddha. Mm-hmm. And you had all these other, but these strong leaders, whether they were Christian or whatever they were, they could make sure that these guys, whatever they believed, whatever they didn't believe, that they meshed.
Right.
And they were able to make the dude that was the Buddhist, or hell, I had a guy that was a well, he wasn't one of my guys at the time. He was a fellow soldier. He was a witchcraft dude.
Yeah,
we had a
couple of those. Yeah.
And everybody just kind of came together because you had these strong young leaders that recognized that there was a bigger picture than just your own little personal belief or opinion or attitude or whatever,
Well, it's part of being a team. Is you just shed the things that make you an individual, and that's what you do in private. But when you're together, you do what the team needs.
Yes, and now there were, I've had guys that would message me or email me or call me, and they would share things that they thought they knew how I was thinking.
Right.
And I'm thinking, dude, you're so far off. You're so far off. I had a guy that he messaged me one time. He said, now I understand why you did what you did. You were trying to keep us alive. I'm like, no, that wasn't it. It was the mission.
Yeah.
My mission was to try to get along with the Iraqis, try to get along with the people in the urban areas or whatever, to draw information out of them. And in doing that, I had to make him think that we were their best friends.
Mm-hmm.
But they took it as I was just trying to keep them alive. So it was a lot of these young guys, they still didn't get it. With that being said, it didn't matter because they did their job.
Well, in their mind, if that's what they need to believe,
that's all that mattered.
To drive them.
That is all that matters.
If they believe that, you're still able to accomplish your mission, and that's what drives them. And they think you're doing this for me, but you're doing it. I mean, it is. That's the hard part of leadership in the military, is that you're having to lead so many different places. It's not just your guys; it's also your higher echelon of leaders, and you have to do what they want, but do what your buddies want. Yeah. You got to do what the local populace wants, and you have to literally find this crazy mesh between all of it, and especially at the rank you were at, you were right there in the middle of all of it.
And sometimes what's frustrating is when you look back, you're like, damn, I could have done this, or I could have done this a little
done that a few times.
And because there's different, there's different leadership styles, and I think a good leader has to have all those different leadership styles. You just can't be somebody that screams at people all the time.
Yeah.
There are times that screaming works.
Yeah.
But then there are soldiers it could be somebody at work or wherever they shut down, and you have to recognize, okay, I need to get the best I can out of this dude. So if me calling him a stupid MFer works, then I'll call him a stupid MFer. But if that shuts him down, I need to take a different tack.
Right.
And unfortunately...
So you have to know your guys. You have to understand each and every person and know how they work.
And the thing is, sometimes you learn it too late.
Yeah. Sure, I understand.
Mm-hmm. And that comes to, I talked about I was an average soldier and an average sailor. And sometimes looking back, it frustrates me like, damn it, I should have done this. Because I still think about some of the soldiers, some of the sailors. When I was in the Coast Guard, I really weren't, I was 22, 23, and I was an E4, which was a third-class petty officer.
Okay.
You were kind of in a leadership role, but you weren't really in a position to...
Is that considered an NCO in the Coast Guard?
Okay, then that's funny because an E4 in the Army is a specialist. You're not really in a leadership. You may be, or if they decide you're a corporal, then you could be possibly.
That's leadership. The thing about the Army that's always confused me was the difference between E4 or was a specialist and corporal.
Now,
because in the Marine Corps there's only corporal at E4.
In the Army, there's E4 specialist, which is kind of I don't know why they call them specialists, but I mean they are
not that special.
But no, I'm not. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Sure.
But they are. It's a just.
Is it more generic than corporal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So when you decide that, say, this guy, this E4 he's a leader, but I can't make him an E5 because there's no slot.
Okay, sure.
But I could possibly tap him on the head with a sword.
But I could put him in charge with a team.
Yes,
yeah.
and all of a sudden he's a corporal, you know.
I gotcha. It's just that extra bump between E4
there's
and E5.
No pay,
right.
There's no pay raise.
But you're just given a different billet.
Yes,
maybe.
and all of a sudden you're almost I recognize you that you're more than
just a specialist.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
But in the Coast Guard, an E4, which was a third-class petty officer, you were actually probably leading a section.
Okay.
You know, and then you became second class, first class, which was it mirrors
similar to the Navy.
It is actually
the only Navy that I experienced with rank as far as that's concerned is like more like corpsmen. Corpsmen kind of carry those same ranks across first class petty officer, second class.
That's a specialty.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
but they still had like the first class petty officer,
same
second class petty officer, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And but when I was in the Coast Guard, I was kind of clueless, you know, about things because I was young.
Yeah.
I was 22-year-old. I was a kid, but when I went in the National Guard, I was, 30, 31, 32.
How old were you when you did in 2004? So you were like, so we invaded in what, 2003? The initial push into Iraq. So in 2004, how old were you when you did your Iraq push?
40-ish.
So that's like, so at that point, especially after Bosnia.
Yeah.
And like we use a term called, do you use the term salty?
Yes.
Salty is like seasoned.
Yes.
Like you're salty, you're seasoned.
Yeah.
So it's like you've been around.
Like Billy.
Billy, especially being a bartender, you're pretty salty. You've been around the block. You know what's going on. Yeah. So like you've seen your fair share of shit. You know what's going on. And when you say sergeant, because I know the Army's different. For me, I was a sergeant. When I was an E5.
The Marine Corps gives me a headache.
They call sergeants. You could be an E8 and be a sergeant.
Gunny makes my head explode. I don't understand it.
So as a sergeant, were you talking E6?
No, a sergeant is an E5.
That's okay. So
Staff sergeant's E6.
That's same as Marine Corps.
Sergeant
and it gets
first class.
It gets hairy at this point.
Yes,
right?
It gets confusing.
Yeah.
You know,
this is where we differ.
The movie with Clint Eastwood, Gunny.
Yeah, Gunny Highway.
Gunny Highway.
What is it?
I guess he's an E7. I don't know.
Yeah, Gunny is E7, Gunnery Sergeant.
But what is an E8? What is an E9?
An E8 would be a first sergeant.
Okay.
An E9 would be a master sergeant.
Okay.
So, but I know in the Army I think at E7 is when we part ways completely and it becomes real weird.
And the thing was, we had our company was out of Jacksonville, so we had guys coming in from the Marine Corps.
Okay. And I have a lot of buddies that went Army afterward.
Look, and the guys coming out of the Marine Corps, they were there to tell us what we were doing wrong.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. You're not doing it right. Yeah. You need to change the whole rank structure here.
This is all wrong.
This is all wrong. Arm wrestle right now.
That's right.
Like there's an arm
it's not that. It's
I
just
arm wrestled a Viking one time, but that's.
Then I'm out. I don't want any part of this.
Okay.
I don't care how you fared. I want nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
That's just the point at which it splits. It becomes, at least for a Marine perspective, E8 is when it's like, I don't even know what the Army calls that. We just...
Okay, so when I became first sergeant, I was an E8.
Okay. Same for us.
Okay, so I did that for 3 years, and then I was like, I need to do something else. So I took a reduction and came back to E7. Yep.
Oh, in rank. Okay.
Rank
Gotcha.
and pay to go to Butner, the National Guard Training Center. Well, then while I was there, I moved back up to E8, but then I was a master sergeant.
Okay. Is that E9 for you?
No.
Because for us, it splits the same.
Major.
It's E8 and master sergeant and first sergeant are both E8s. It just depends on where you go.
That's the same thing.
Okay.
First sergeant,
right.
Yes, sir, same thing.
Gotcha. Because I'm starting to.
A first sergeant deals with personnel.
Yes, that's for us too.
Master sergeant deals with all the other stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of similar too.
Yeah.
So it's not too far off.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm 64-year-old and I finally figured out rank structure.
One of the biggest, especially it's funny that with the people that get made fun of the most are the lower ranking people that like they're going to the convenience store on base.
Yeah.
And they walk by somebody that has a huge stack of something on their shirt, and they have to greet them with their rank.
Yeah.
And they're not that well versed in the rank yet.
Yeah.
And they walk by and they don't even know how to greet them. And sometimes it's funny to watch them just stumble over
sir.
"Good morning, First Master Gunnery Sergeant." Like,
so when I was first in the Coast Guard, when I got out of boot camp, I went to the Northwind, the icebreaker, Coast Guard Northwind. Well,
that was out of Wilmington, right?
Yes.
Wilmington.
So then I went to my school, the MOS, we call them MOS.
MOS, Military Occupational Specialty. For
so I went to Orlando, Florida, which was the Navy school.
It's probably nice.
Oh yeah. I was a quartermaster. It was a quartermaster school, which in the Coast Guard, quartermaster is a navigator. In the Army or Marine Corps, I guess quartermaster would be like a supply.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, and it was also signalman. So it was like, I don't know, like a 16-week school. But
it's amazing that's longer than your infantry training.
It's the truth, yes. So we had these, our caps, they were called piss cutters.
Okay.
It was just a folding little blue thing. And we had the Coast Guard emblem on them. Well, these Navy kids, they were straight out of boot camp. We were salty. We would come off the float.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we would come it was NAS Orlando. So we'd be coming up, and you'd see these dudes coming, and they were like, "Oh, geez, what?" And you'd see them.
I know who these guys are.
And they'd salute.
Yeah.
And we would salute them back, just because we were kids.
Yeah.
Man. We didn't care. We thought it was
sure,
great.
whatever. It's funny.
Well, we were at the base exchange. It was huge, and being a cocky 22-year-old, I had set my piss cutter on the back of my head like a beanie. And this military vehicle, it was just a car, but it was a
government vehicle. Yeah.
It came and it rode up on the curb, and this dude gets out. He's Navy. He's like a captain, which is a colonel. He gets out, and he rips my ass.
For how you run your ass?
Yes, I was yes, it was cocked on the back of my head. It was a beanie. And I quit. After that, I was cured.
The last time, it only takes one time. Yeah.
Is it a shit cutter when it's pointed the other way?
It might be.
It was not.
Piss cutters forward, shit cutters backward.
Piss cutter, just a piss cutter. I don't know why. Now, I'll say this about that lingo: the guys from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, they would call it the concern. And they had the what is the white one called? That was it was the old Navy cap, the white. It
like
was
the Popeye the Sailor Man looking thing. Yeah. I know. The poor Navy in their damn uniforms. They have not updated them.
When we were there, they had like 3 or 4 different uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
We had light blue shirt, dark pants, or dark shirt, dark pants. That was it. That's all we had. And these Navy guys and girls, they had it was they had wardrobe, is what they had.
Yeah, Marine Corps was confused. We had Alphas, Bravos, Charlies, Deltas. And that was the thing that's so interesting about going from branch to branch, is having to figure out those different nuances of even just how to wear your uniform. Especially because I know we used to always envy the Army, at least the guys I was with, because you guys would have cool patches and things. And I remember, like anything that had Velcro on it, like flak jackets or plate carriers or anything that had Velcro on it, it was like you were slapping patches on. It was so cool to have patches, but then your command would tell you, like, you're not allowed to wear these ridiculous patches all over, like,
had, these guys would come out of the Marine Corps, and it was the Guadalcanal patch.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course. Guadalcanal is a big history in the Marine Corps, a big part of it.
Like 1st Marine Division, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But they would come and they'd put and the Army guy, they would lose their shit. Like, what are you doing? I'm supposed to wear this patch, you know. I'm bringing it with me. And it always caused a big thing. You know?
Yeah. It's just interesting transferring branches like that and going from Coast Guard to Army is it's a weird transition, especially because it's funny too, because one of the things that I've always understood about Coast Guard, I have a family member that was in the Coast Guard, and he was on a cutter also, and the thing that we kind of found as similarity is that despite the difference in training and the different mission set, obviously the Coast Guard has one mission set and the Marine Corps has another, the boot camp, at least in duration and in methodology, is very similar.
Yeah.
They're both the two longest boot camps out of any branch.
Right.
And they also have a very similar methodology as far as how they treat and train and break down the individual to bring them into this new self-awareness of like, I identify as this thing.
Right. And
it's interesting going from the parallel between that boot camp and the Coast Guard boot camp is interesting, and I'm interested in how Coast Guard boot camp was. Were you writing letters to home, and you were, as far as boot camp is concerned, what's that like?
So,
and by the way, I think it's called a Dixie Cup.
Dixie Cup. Yes, that's exactly what it was.
And
the Coast Guard and the Navy.
For the Navy, they call it a Dixie Cup?
The Coast Guard and the Navy had Dixie Cups,
As far as their cover?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, it was a white one.
Gotcha.
And they were white.
Dixie.
They were ivory white.
I've seen like the dress whites that a corpsman would come out with when we'd have dress time.
The Dixie Cups were back in the 50s, 60s.
Like a dog water bowl.
Man, I was in the Marine Corps. We had dress blues. I have no time for that. Man, we were in dress blues.
Yeah.
This is the coolest uniform on earth.
Remember, I don't know about you, but remember shining boots, shining the black boots.
See that we had the canvas tan boots, so we never had to deal with that. That's a different experience.
You shined your boots, and now that's a that's passé. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah, the Navy still wears the black boots, and I'm sure they still have to shine them. But I know for us, as far as I know in dress, you had Corframs, the shiny shoes.
Yeah, that was.
But they were so damn shiny, you didn't have to shine them.
But I think that was a cheap way out.
Yeah, it came shiny.
Corframs, yes, sir.
It came shiny. It was a cheater.
I love a Corfram. Yeah. And I still got a pair in my closet.
Yeah.
They're the ugliest, damnedest looking thing.
It is weird. They look like weird tuxedo shoes.
Yes, the ones you had to shine, they were patent leather.
Yeah, you actually had to shine it.
Nice.
You had to learn how to put a shine on a shoe.
And the Corframs were like, who need you could wear the patent leather ones. You could wear them like a church.
Yeah.
But the Corframs, there was only one place you could wear them, and that was like when you were in dress.
Yeah.
Because they were the ugliest damn things.
And the problem was that you went to one Marine Corps ball, and those things were so scuffed up and disgusting that you had to buy a pair of new ones every single time.
Throw up on them.
Yeah, just destroyed. And it's like anytime you went and get a uniform inspection, you had to get brand new ones because they were so destroyed. Yeah, it was somebody. Yeah. I've never been to a relaxing, enjoyable military ball.
Dude, let me tell you.
It's always been a shit show.
So when I made my wife is a great girl.
Yeah.
So, but she
if she made it through all this shit,
I'm telling you,
has to be.
So she don't know. She has clueless when it comes to the military. So we go to the dining out when I was first sergeant, and I was in Wilmington, and I would come in, and people going, excuse, and it was the Diamond.
Yeah.
That's
okay. Same for us.
Yes.
Yep.
So people would peel away. And Debbie was like, this is great. Yeah. I can't, wow, this is incredible. We'll do this forever.
Get the whole place to ourselves.
We got, yeah. Everybody was, how you doing, First Sergeant? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm like, Debbie, it ain't me. It's the Diamond.
Yeah, it's this Diamond. Yeah, for sure.
Let's not get carried away here. You're not the admiral's wife. You're not the general's wife.
You're close. You get the same sort of fear that strikes in the hearts of an E3.
Yeah. It's the first sergeant.
Yeah. Careful.
Oh yeah, careful. There comes the first sergeant. But back to boot camp. So I'm from Hatters.
Yeah.
I've been to Baltimore. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
where'd you do boot camp?
Cape May, New Jersey.
Okay.
So it was February.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah. So we go to Norfolk. My mom's there, and she's destroyed. I was leaving for for weeks.
You might as well be leaving for war.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So we go to from Norfolk we go to Philadelphia, and from Philadelphia.
This by bus?
We fly to Philadelphia. Never flew in my life, and
really?
then we take a bus from Philadelphia to Cape May, New Jersey, and Hatteras Island was always Coast Guard.
Yeah,
right.
This whole area is predominant.
So, everybody told me, said, they can kill you, but they can't eat you.
Right.
So, we pull up on a bus, and this female comes on there and eats our asses up. And I'm like, this is going to be awful.
This is terrible.
They're yelling. And I remember there was an E8, a senior chief. His name was Senior Chief Johnson. And he picked me out.
You were just a favorite.
I was that dude.
Yeah.
And he told me, he says, Gray, I'm going to make your life a living hell. And I'm like, this is my nightmare.
I signed up for this.
Do you know he never looked at me again after that night?
Really?
No.
Just struck fear in your heart.
Just struck fear in my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all for some people, they know it's all it takes. It's just a little bit.
And
they got you.
I remember I was on that patrol boat, and we were doing a search and rescue case. We were 82-foot patrol boats, top heavy, streamlined, so it rode awful. Mm-hmm. And his name was Randy Malden. He was a E7, but he was the engineering officer on the patrol boat. And it was like we were in 30-foot seas, man. It was awful. We were looking for a longliner. It was a particular type of fishing boat out in the Gulf of Mexico. And we were talking, and I said, I don't think boot camp worked. He said, Gray, we are here in 30-foot seas on an 82-foot patrol boat. When we get there, you're going to go on the back deck, and you're going to pass a line over to this fishing boat, and you're not going to ask questions.
Yeah.
You're just going to do it. You're just going to do it. And you're telling me that boot camp
didn't work. Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
I guess you're right.
Again, there's Hal not knowing shit.
It's amazing what they can put into you that you don't even realize that you have in you. Yeah.
You're clueless.
Yeah.
I wonder sometime anybody coming out of high school needs to go to boot camp. Just go to boot camp.
Yeah.
There's
change your entire life.
A generic boot camp that everybody goes to.
Even if it's just for a couple weeks and just to get a taste of it, it was really... Because honestly, the first couple weeks of boot camp was really the hardest part to get through. Is the part of you realizing you're there and you got to deal with it.
It becomes your town.
Yeah.
I remember probably my 6th week, I was standing at the dining facility. And this female comes up. And all she wants is advice. She just wants to talk. And I blew her off like she was a little roach. I'm like, figure this out yourself. I had made the transition to this was my town.
Yeah.
It was like six weeks in. It was that quick to where you became... That became who you were,
Yeah.
And I really think, and I'm sure if you Google it, the meaning of boot camp or whatever, there's studies done on how it changes you in just a matter of weeks.
Oh, there's you can look at pictures of people before and after boot camp.
Yeah.
And like a picture of a guy, just a stone cold mugshot.
Yeah.
Before and afterward.
Yeah.
And even just the furrow in your brow.
Yeah.
Everything changes.
You become very professional.
I've got this anger line I can't get rid of no matter what I do, and it's always there.
It's very intimidating.
And it's no matter what I do.
I look at it now and I'm kind of...
But I can't... That was something, if I look at a picture before that, I never had it. Had it.
My Coast Guard boot camp photo... I'm just a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Just a kid. And then I'll go my,
after your first deployment.
I'm like, wow. That's a lot of difference,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But there is a method to the madness. There really is.
Yes, there is. And
because, like you said, you're going to be at 30-foot seas throwing a line right over
and you're not asking any questions.
No.
Like, you're not looking at that. You're not looking
at it. Doesn't even phase you.
And you're not going, are you crazy?
Like, you don't even realize you're in danger.
You're right. We would be on the back deck of this patrol boat, and we'd be, what you do is you would have it's called a monkey's fist.
Like a knot, like the knot? Monkey fist? Okay, yeah.
And you would toss this little bit of line over to a boat that was floundering, and it was tied to a big hawser line, like a 2-inch hawser. And they would grab that and they would drag it and they'd pull it onto that boat and they would tie it off, and then you would tow them in 30-foot seas.
Yeah.
I remember I had it's funny, we talked about remembering people's names. There was a third class named Stephen Piccola. Batshit crazy.
Really?
But he was really good. And he...
you need those guys.
Yeah, you do. You need these crazy people.
You need them.
Yeah, you do. And I remember we were on this back deck, and we were everywhere. Swells busting over, and he grabbed... Well, I was going over, and he grabbed me and pulled me on, and I didn't look at him and say, wow, you saved my life. We just kept right on rolling.
Yeah.
It was, it was not something like, whew, that was close.
Just didn't even phase.
Didn't even think about it. Yeah. Until
it's like your training kicks in, and all of a sudden it's just second nature.
Yes, sir.
It's muscle memory. It just happens.
Yeah.
That's the importance of it, though. Is that, like, especially in a theater like Iraq.
Yes.
Is like, this is the time when it needs to be muscle memory.
Yeah.
You have a gunner go down in a turret. You need to know. It just has to happen.
Did you ever see the movie Taking Chance?
I don't believe so.
It was the Marine Corps.
Okay.
I can't remember the actor's name, but he plays part of a major in the Marine Corps, and he was in Desert Storm. But then he's home, and he's getting used to being with his family all the time, so he's able to dodge the Iraq and Afghanistan, actually Iraq War. Mm-hmm. And the boy was killed in the Mahmadiyah, in the area that we were at.
The same place,
Yes, sir. But he realizes that he's looking at all the casualties and sees this one kid named Chance that needs to be an escort. And so he escorts the body back to the family back in Wyoming.
Yeah.
But you ever get a chance? It's a really, it's called Taking Chance.
Taking Chance.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon. Okay. I feel like I've seen Kevin Bacon with the haircut.
Oh, yeah.
I know the movie. I can see the picture of it.
They do such justice to. I remember a few years ago, more than a few, people were up in arms about when the remains were coming back, and they were at I can't remember what Army base it was, where they come back to. It's on the East Coast, and people were upset because they just happened to see something out of the jetliner. A lady saw it and felt like they were being disrespectful to the body. Not at all like it.
Right.
But they show in this movie what they go through.
Yeah, there's not a chance they were being disrespectful.
No, not at all.
Not a chance.
Man, when we lost our 4 guys in 2009, it was, these guys, you know how close you are to them. We were second platoon, they were first platoon. And we went that afternoon. I was in behind our tents, and that's where we kept our vehicles. Well, I was talking to Sergeant Adams, really good dude, fun, and so they went out on patrol and got smoked. When that Humvee, that up armored Humvee, ran over the pressure plate ID, it was done. It was like,
Humvees weren't meant for that.
They were the artillery shells. There were 2 like 155 artillery shells.
155s, yeah.
Holy cow! So we get the word, and my company commander was Chris Paget. Really, hell on wheels. Love him to death. He's a brother. And we were. I was walking up to the CP, and he come out. The look on his face was so damn distraught. Because he knew these dudes. One of the dudes that were killed, Robert Bittaker, he and Captain Paget, who is Lieutenant Colonel now, they went in the same month.
Together.
Yeah. So he come out and he was just so distraught. But it was it was incredible. And we were so close, we were all so tight that the following day, I think, we went to Baghdad, because we were like 10 miles from Baghdad. We were just below Baghdad in the place Mahmadiyah. And we went there, they let us go, and they brought the caskets on a vehicle. And I think it was, I can't remember if it was one of the Chinooks or if it was one of the big transport planes.
Like C-17 or something.
Something like that. And they would bring them up, and everybody on the airfield were stopping. You know, you had these small vehicles, and they
just moving stuff around.
Stop,
yeah.
And they would come to attention, and they came
like
up.
Colors was playing or something.
Yes, it was just incredible. And the American public don't see that.
Yeah.
They just see what they consider disrespect, and it's really not, man.
Yeah.
It was just so. It was so emotional. I mean, that's been shit, man. It's been what? That was 2009. That's been 14 years ago, and even now to see that, to look back and see the
people that didn't even know them.
They had no idea, but they knew, and they came up. And how they walked the coffins up, the draped, the flag draped coffins, and there were four of them. I mean, it was like, bang, they were gone.
Yeah.
You know, I had that afternoon. Adams and I had talked when we were training up. We got hammered, and he threw up in my lap. So it was all kinds of stories, man.
Yeah.
You know, and all of a sudden,
it's like it just happened 12 hours ago.
And his wife, Teresa, she does a lot of stuff on social media, and she'll tell stories, and because I remember we had Carlos Baldasing worked at the local hospital, Carter Healthcare. He was
really?
Security, yeah.
Wow.
And his wife, Rebecca. You always know these people.
Yeah, they're part of your community.
Yeah, Kramer, Sergeant Kramer. He was getting ready to get out. He was going to retire, but he didn't. He didn't. They found out he didn't have enough time, so he made the deployment.
Right.
And
had you do one more pump?
Yeah, one more time. Yes, sir. You know, and you had Robert Bittaker, who when I was telling you, he and Paget came in at the same time. I came in the same month. February of 1990. And it's funny how, I don't know how regular Army or Marine Corps, but I remember these dates and people and families and, all this stuff. But there were four of them, and everybody goes through that. Everybody that made the transition. It's just, you remember all that.
So when it comes to that, like, as far as leaving that chapter in your life or whatever you want to call it, how, especially when you have the gravity that comes with certain experiences.
This is going to be my last one, man.
Yeah, it's fine.
Who knows what the hell I'm going to talk about?
Who knows? But what I'm hoping is for some people watching, this may help.
Yes.
So when it comes to the heavy weight of some of these experiences and the transition afterward. Even how to word this is difficult, but how do you go through that transition? How do you go back to just being home and getting a job and finding a life and being a husband and being a father and pretending like it never happened?
So a couple of months ago, we one of the guys that were with us on the first deployment, he passed away from some respiratory thing. and the word went out, and they had the funeral at the in Jacksonville at the military cemetery.
Yeah,
you know when you first come.
Yeah, right after, off 17
and
or whatever.
So all these guys just showed up, you know, from 2004, and
got word and
just got word,
yeah.
you know, and there's there's a particular sergeant. He's retired. His name is Chad Stevens, and he was there. This guy is a leader, and we were having to leave because they were going to have another ceremony, and the people were like, "Hey, y'all need to get out of here." Well, what he did for all of us, the guy's wife was sitting there. She was in a wheelchair. She's got all kinds of problems, and he reached down and he grabbed her, and he said, "All these guys here, I will be with you forever."
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it's about in a nutshell. And it's not just you'll be there for that dude. You'll be there for that family.
Right, yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
It's just the emotions of it is just...
Because if that person's gone and the wife needs something,
the family.
I'll do anything
and
for
that's
her.
it's so comforting to me. If something happens, I'm probably going to live forever.
Most likely.
And,
at least up here.
Yes, right. If I don't.
Yeah.
I know that there are a group of people that will show up.
Yeah.
And they will prop my wife up, and they'll be there for her.
Absolutely.
And that is a heck of a feeling, man.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just him. I mean, it's been happening over the years because, you know, you're old, you're broke up, stuff happens. And when the word gets out, these guys show up. And it's not just us.
That's very true. When my grandmother died, she was in the Navy.
Uh-huh.
And it's Mumford Point where you're talking
Yes,
about.
sir.
Mumford Point.
And
that was where originally the African American Marines got trained.
Right. And so that's the cemetery. And when she was there, all these
it's incredible.
Navy, Marines.
Didn't even know her, I'm sure.
Yeah. And it's so damn powerful.
No clue.
Yeah.
It's just so powerful.
And I think she only served 2 years.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That was the thing that some of there's a social media page called Northern Provisions that does a lot of like field reporting on the war reporting, independent news kind of thing. And this guy is a Marine who put on a vigil for the 13 Marines that died in Afghanistan recently.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that showed up to this vigil, I didn't serve with them, didn't know them, but it's like we lost Marines, and I'm gonna be there.
Yes, sir.
I'll be there no matter what.
And here's the thing. We'll go back to I don't know what hell I'm talking about. So
sure. That's the theme. The theme of this is we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
That's my ad. When somebody says, "Hey, I can't believe you said that," I don't want to talk
I don't need it. Just shed it.
Yeah. But you know, you get these guys that things happen, and these people that you don't even know. You know, they just show up.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just.
It's powerful. And the camaraderie that's amongst that group.
And civilian, and I say this, and I don't. Clueless people. Well, not just. I mean, you got clueless people in the military, you got clueless people in civilian, and they will try to make it into something that it's not. They will do the politics. They will do. The social injustice thing, all kinds of stuff. When in all actuality, when something happens to this person, you just got people coming in and they're for them. Yeah. And it's that damn simple.
Yeah.
You know, but
you're there to celebrate them, not to martyr them.
Yes, and you got all these people from all different aspects coming in and trying to make it into something it's not, and it really muddies the waters.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
But I just know that if something were to happen to me, I know that so many guys will show up.
Yeah.
I think.
And that's something big.
I hope.
A big theme nowadays, especially because we have social media and we have iPhones, and I mean, within milliseconds, I can contact somebody across the globe.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest themes nowadays, especially when it comes to suicide prevention, is just reach out to your buddies.
Yes.
You know, they may not have contacted you in a while.
Yeah.
But be the one, because if everybody is the one that reaches out, then we all reach out to each other. But be the one that reaches out, because somebody might be dealing with something that you don't even know, and they might not even tell you. But just hearing from you might be enough to keep them to where like, oh man, so and so texted me today.
Yes, sir.
That felt great to just talk to him about life and to hear he's doing okay or whatever.
And here's something else too. You know, you follow these guys on social media, and they're just chirping, and you're like, quit being an idiot. But when it comes down to crunch time, you're there for them.
Yeah.
You know, when they're blathering on about some silliness, and they're mad and going on, and then but when they really need you,
it doesn't matter what you believe in. No, just going back to what we were talking about before, I don't care.
I've got particular soldiers that they will be chirping, and I'm like, dude, come, just throttle back, man.
We're the ones that are supposed to be the quiet professionals. We're supposed to just be the ones that are sitting back.
Well, you're just, all of a sudden you're subject matter expert.
Call me when something serious happens.
On international affairs.
Yeah.
No, you were an E5 infantry dude. That does not make you, an expert on Eastern European.
Yeah, that's like we did a podcast with Billy and Matt about the conflict in Ukraine, and I spent some time in Eastern Europe in the military. So I did my first deployment over there, but they were asking me questions. I was like, look, again, I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
This is just opinions. This is just based on military knowledge. I don't know because everybody nowadays has
this
their
is
thing.
what the Russians are going to do.
Yeah, like, and I know it because I'm so smart.
That's right.
But at the same time, it's like I don't really care what you're talking about online. If you need something, and that's the big thing, is just like reach out to these guys, because somebody might be struggling and you have no idea until you get the phone call or the text message. Just like, we lost so and so, and it's a big. It hits home pretty hard.
I had a soldier. I was a hot mess, and he checked all the blocks, and he could have been easy to dislike.
Sure, yeah.
But
got a few.
I would have soldiers call me and say, "Hey, First Sergeant, I just got a call from so and so. He really needs some help.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do." And what would touch me was he was an unlikable soldier, but these guys, they shed that mess, and it was just their brother was asking for help. And when I would talk to him, I would call him and say, and it would be like, this is the greatest amount of BS. But it didn't matter. And the thing was, it was BS, but if he did it again, they would do the same thing again.
Yeah.
They would say, "Hey, First Sergeant, here's what's going on. I don't know what to do." It'd be like an E4 would be calling me and saying, "Hey, I'm not sure what to do," And so that's what, I think that's what, I don't think building these guys is the right term, but that's what the military is made up of, and it's not just Army and Marine Corps it's all of them, and I don't think the civilian populace, they think that all of us are snake eaters and we're we're not. We're just brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
So it was just.
What year did you get out?
I got out in 2018. They said, "Hal Gray, you're 60
That's
years old.
it.
Please,
come on.
Just
go already.
Go home, for God's sake."
To wrap up, if you had one piece of advice to your 2018-year-old self, even as seasoned as you were and as much wisdom as you had being an adult, if you had a piece of advice to give back to yourself that maybe someone could pick up on, what would that be?
it would be listen to your subordinates, listen to your soldiers, listen to your sailors, listen to what they're saying. Because, like we said, there are different ways to lead. Calling someone an MFer may work for this guy, but it may not work for that. And the thing
and that doesn't quite translate to the civilian world either. You can't just go calling somebody an MFer. And
no.
Yeah.
That made national news.
Right.
But because what I've learned is you can do a lot of damage if you don't use the right leadership skills.
Absolutely. I agree. I've learned more from bad leaders than good leaders.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I know exactly what I don't want to be.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. That sounded like we were sewing it up.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. Yeah.
But, sometimes you think that maybe you learn things too late.
Yeah, you always
but you
do.
Really don't.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But still, to learn it
you're learning
it's part of it.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
This has been great.
I appreciate you being here.
It was fun.
Thank you for opening up.
Fun.
I appreciate you telling the stories.
Yes, sir.
It's always great to talk to an Iraq vet. So that was one of the wars that I have studied more than others because it was just the one I figured was. It's interesting to talk across generations and just to hear from somebody and the similarities and differences and everything like that.
I mean, veterans are veterans.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We've all gone through something.
Yes, sir.
And for bringing some of the whiskey.
Yes, and this was brought to you by Amador Whiskey.
Cabernet Sauvignon cask barreled
yes.
aged whiskey.
Yes, it was good stuff. Yeah.
Well, guys, I appreciate you watching. If you want to hear more of these episodes with other guests, subscribe to the channel, Small Town Big Sound. Give this video a like, and we'll see you the next time. Thanks.